Welcome back into the Sports Source. This segment brought to you by Madisonville Marine. We're still a few weeks away from the downtown Knoxville Boat Show, but folks, Skeeter, G3, Suncatcher pontoons, aqua patios, just on and on and on. Whatever kind of boat you're looking for, they've got it at Madisonville Marine. They've got boat show deals going on right now. Boat show pricing at Madisonville Marine. And if you go down there and buy a boat right now, they'll store it for you until spring. MadMarine.com. Go down and see Joe Special and the team at Madisonville Marine, Highway 411 North, well, in Madisonville.
But, man, I think when you look at what Tennessee's doing at quarterback, you know, with Nico, Jake Merklinger, and now George McIntyre in that class, like that's a really strong, you know, kind of triumvirate of quarterbacks to bring into your room. And, you know, I think he's a good fit for the offense as well. So, you know, I think if you're a Tennessee fan, you need to be ecstatic today. And this was a high-profile recruiting battle. I think he was one of, if not the most hotly, sought-after quarterbacks in the 25 cycle. It looks like a really good year at quarterback in 2025. I think it was, at this point, much stronger than the 2024 cycle nationally. So to go in and get, the top quarterback in the state, one of the top quarterbacks in the country, is a huge get for Josh Heupel.
Right, that was Charles Power, the director of scouting for the On3 Network, appearing on Josh and Swain on the Sports Animal this week. Vols land George McIntyre, who was talking about their consensus top 3 quarterback in the nation. In theory, he'll join Jake Merklinger, who was a consensus top 10 quarterback from last year's class. And then, of course, the number 1 quarterback in the country, Nico Iamaleava, who signed 2 years ago and is set to start. You heard him talk about Vol fans should be ecstatic. Vol fans should be excited. When you look at the fact that, I used the word on your radio show this week, they're stockpiling quarterback prospects. Is that true? Is there a reason for excitement? Should they be ecstatic over this? Are they stockpiling quarterbacks? Or do we just go ahead right off the bat and say, they won't all be here?
They will not be, but it both can be true. They will not all be here. That's why you need to stockpile top 10 quarterback prospects, because whoever doesn't win the battle is going to go home. So, or transfer somewhere else. So this is exactly the way Tennessee needs to do it. Does it mean these guys are all going to pan out? Absolutely not. If you look at the history of 5-star quarterbacks the last half decade or so, or decade, and maybe half of them end up being quality starters at a really high college football level. But when you have 3 of them, didn't you feel a lot better about your chances of finding the right one?
I agree. Jimmy?
Yeah, I think that's exactly the point. In that competition, whoever rises to the top, great, because you figure he's going to be really good because he's competing against very talented quarterbacks, and somebody else is going to transfer because they're not getting playing time. So, yeah. But I'd rather have a bunch of them to choose from, or have really highly rated ones to choose from, and then let the transfer portal take care of the rest.
Exactly. Better to be replacing 5 stars than replacing 3 stars. Yeah. Dr. No?
I say go ahead and sign you a good 3-star, so you'll have somebody to back up the one that stays, because the other 2 will probably leave at some point. Here's the thing, yeah, it's kind of like Georgia at defensive tackle. You sign all the good ones. When some of them leave, then you still got good ones. And I think what's a little different here is you've got Nico, who, let's say he's really good. He's here 2 years. Then that opens the door for McIntyre to come in and get a year of experience. Mm-hmm. So that may make it less likely that you would lose both of your highly ranked backup guys. But no, I do think that the transfer portal makes it unlikely that we're going to be sitting there celebrating these guys 10 years from now.
I think it's the sandwich guy, the guy that gets signed in between these 5. If they continue to do this every year, I think it's the guy who's in the middle that's probably going to wind up transferring. In this situation, that would be Merklinger, but we have no idea how he's going to perform or what coaches are going to think about him or anything else. Vince, should Vol fans be ecstatic over this, or are you like, they're not all 3 going to be in the same room?
They should be ecstatic, one, because they're doing what the elite programs in college football have been doing and still do, and that's stockpiling those guys and putting themselves in the position, if those guys stay, they have the next one. Or if somebody transfers, we have another one ready to go. Or if you don't get somebody in the transfer portal, if you have an injury, you have another super talented player there ready to step in and maybe be even better than the guy you had before. So because of that, I think you have to play this out now, and you worry about whether they stay or not down the road.
Your playoff teams in the age of the playoff here have been Alabama, Clemson, Ohio State, Oklahoma, Michigan recently. But that's it's those groups. What do those groups, aside from Michigan, all have in common? they sign one 5-star quarterback after another, one top 10 guy, one top 5 guy after another. I think this is a great sign. If you told me Josh Heupel was really not a great recruiter except at one position, but it's quarterback,
Yeah.
I'm going to feel okay about it.
Doesn't it seem like quarterbacks do a better job of recruiting other players to your program as well, especially those 5 stars and high 4 stars?
And this one's already
Yeah, I
working.
agree with that.
Absolutely.
McIntyre's already
So that's why I start with the quarterback and then work your way down.
I wonder how much NIL has changed that though.
Yeah.
Because used to you did have the guy out there and he's recruiting big and helping people, and now they're saying, "Yeah, I'd love to come play with you, George. How much are they going to give me?"
Yeah.
So I wonder if that
Well,
changes.
there was
that.
the piece at the Athletic that said, "Hey, everybody's paying $300,000, $400,000. That's what everybody's paying. Some are paying $500,000. So if the money's equal and you have the quarterback, maybe that
Yeah.
helps. That gives you the advantage, right?"
Let me figure out a way to spin that negatively.
Yeah.
And Matt Rule's numbers are a little bit different than that.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
he said it's basically
And the
market's
thing also
one
about the elite quarterback, he raises the level of the rest of the offense. You know, the receivers are going to be better, part of the running backs. I think that when you get that elite guy and you've got buy-in and you're playing with that
Yeah.
person, I think everybody plays better.
Did we learn this year that if you have a quarterback that's a quick decision maker versus not, it helps out everything else within this offense, right?
And an average guy can make everything else look average.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, very good. I want to remind folks of the poll. Well, 2 things I want to remind you. There's the poll. You can take part. It is still 70% of you feel better about Tennessee's chances of making the Final Four than you do about Tennessee's chances of making the playoff. Now, the interesting thing here, let me see if I can twist this. There's about 350 basketball teams out there. So there'll be 64 in the tournament. You're counting on Tennessee being one of the 4 out of those 64. Whereas in football, there's about 65 Power 5 teams out there, and there's 12 slots in the playoff. Math-wise, it would be football. If you're just going strictly, if you're going by analytics, analytics says football, but we're not going by analytics. One other thing I wanted to point out, I said in that last one that Tennessee was leading the league. They should be over out. No, I'd forgotten. Tennessee had the open date last week. I'm not used to having a half-game back line in basketball standings. So that's my fault. Tennessee tied with Alabama in the loss column. Can't believe we're talking that in basketball. But they are a half-game back in the win column. So that was on me. My apologies. Tennessee technically in second place by a half game. So they've got that big 3-game series in Atlanta coming up, though. Kudos to the SEC for their goofball scheduling. All right, when we come back, what are we doing next? Oh, we just talked about Tennessee's quarterback room for 2025. Was their 1994 quarterback room with Manning, with Helton, their best ever? Come on back on the Sports Source.